Hello televiewers, good evening and welcome to this other edition of The Point on My Media Prime. Our guest on The Point today is Honorable Joshua Osih Nambangi, who is a Member of Parliament for the Social Democratic Front, also first Vice President for that party. We are going to be discussing with him on what has been making news on social media across other mainstream media organs because of what is supposed to have been is a signing of a petition. 62 MPs signed a petition against the outing of U.S. Congress and members, men and women, and many persons have decided to focus on Honorable Joshua Osih. We're going to be finding out why he is a key target after that outing. Is here with us as we announced earlier on our social media handles. Honorable Joshua Osih, we are glad to have you on The Point for the very first time.
Well, thank you for having me, and I wish a warm evening to your viewers, and I'm honored to be here. I just want to mention that in as much as I do appreciate being here with you today, I do not think that your invitation should be seen as a justification.
No.
Because the way you presented it, it's as if I was trying to justify myself.
I said.
And maybe just to add on it, the document that was issued by the Cameroonian Parliament was not a petition against anybody. It was a document written to the U.S. Congress, and a parliament cannot petition another parliament in another country. So it's important we use the right words.
Okay. Now, after this document was made public, many persons took to media, social media, attacking your person, and it came to you as a surprise, a shock.
Not really.
Okay.
Not really. No. You know, the people create a buzz over everything and nothing at the same time.
Okay.
So when you are in politics, you have to have the capacity to withstand those buzzes, and when we haven't done anything wrong, when it's not. It doesn't come from you in the first place. It's not as if I personally did something or published something. It's the parliament to which I belong that published the document. And secondly, when you are absolutely sure that what you did is absolutely not wrong, whatever people say, all you can do is to try to bring them back to reason. But unfortunately, with social media, the wrong information goes very fast, and the right information most of the time is very slow. So yeah, that's where we stand. So I'm not shocked. I understand that people don't understand. I do not expect them to understand. We are for a position. I think the most important thing to understand is that the essence, the spirit, and the foundation of everything that was done is done in view to stop the war in the northwest or the southwest, and whatever can be done towards that is a step in the right direction. So it doesn't mean that when you take such a move, the war will stop the next day, but any contribution coming from anywhere in the world towards the end of violence or the extreme violence in the northwest or southwest is welcome. Now, you know, many people have a lot to profit from the situation. Unfortunately, have a lot to profit from the situation in the northwest and the southwest, and so it is. It doesn't surprise me that when you are fighting to stop that war, that others are fighting you. Unfortunately, that's the way things are, and we just have to live with it. But I will not give up, and I think my party too will not give up. The SDF will not give up. We will do everything possible to make sure that this extreme violence in the northwest and southwest is stopped.
You talked about the right and wrong information. What is the wrong information that was given out there, and what is the right information on level?
I don't read about myself. If you start telling the world that I was dressed in a suit and a tie, whereas I know I wasn't dressed in a suit and a tie at my media prime, then I'll not be going around the world to try to prove you wrong. I think the facts are there. A document was written by the Cameroonian Parliament to call for the U.S. Congress. You have to understand that the U.S. Parliament today is a new one. They just went through elections at the end of the year. There is a new administration as well. So we are concerned about the fact that people sitting in the U.S. are fueling the war in the Northwest and Southwest. We are not saying that they are the only ones. There are some hiding in the regime in Yaoundé. There are others even hiding here in Douala and in other places. But we called on the good offices of those honorable gentlemen and women of the U.S. Parliament to recall to them that we have been unable with the Trump administration for the past 4 years to have them respect the international instruments to which they are signatory to stop transnational crime. And transnational crime is what is going on. So we simply told them that we're happy and we congratulate them that they were able to stop that repatriation flight. And in the same vein, we asked them to do even more. We urged them to do even more to try to arrest the fueling of the financing and the propaganda that is being issued on their territory to fuel the war in the Northwest and South. That was simply what was done. Yeah. Now people went up and down and changed it into the fact that we wanted people to be repatriated. Never did we say such a thing. So when somebody is interested in what we do, let them visit the facts and look at it for themselves. But I'm not here again once to justify what I did, because if I have to do it again tomorrow morning, I'll do it.
Okay, because you had to issue a press release.
Yes.
Yeah, and in that press release, you were not too comfortable that you were accused of colluding with the regime in place to manage the crisis for a definite end, and you think that you should not be seen as working with the regime with respect to the ongoing crisis.
Well, I don't remember having said that in my press statement, but maybe it's what you got from it. In the press release, I simply brought back the facts, and I said, this is what we said, this is where we are, this is where we are going, period. So I don't think we'll come back to it. That press release was made for public consumption. It's out there, and anybody who has a doubt on what was written in it can go and visit it. So I just want to say again, I think the most important thing to understand is that in as much as I am concerned, I will do everything possible to make sure that the extreme violence in the Northwest and the Southwest stops. If I have to give my life for that to happen, so be it. But we need to do everything to arrest the extreme violence in the Northwest and the Southwest. We need to bring back the debate on the political level. We need to talk about our problems. We need to look for political solutions for our problems, because weapons do not bring solutions. And once we're in such a war, I'm afraid that if more and more people believe that the war is the solution, be they on the side of the government or be they on the side of the separatists, we are going in for something that will take a long time to stop. So my position, and it's been the position of my party, is to stop the war in the Southwest and the Northwest by every means possible.
What is your appreciation of the way the government has handled the crisis so far? Is the party very comfortable?
Not at all.
Okay.
Not at all. I think the government has been handling this crisis as if it doesn't exist, going on to organize elections in the war zone twice, 3 times even, if you ask me, because we had senatorial elections as well. I think the government could do more, especially do more on the political level to engage those who are politically engaged on the situation, to engage in an inclusive dialogue that will make people put the issues on the table, to have a bit more courage. Just the courage they're showing trying to stop it on the war front is the same courage they should show to try to stop it politically. So even if the government at the end of the day succeeds in stopping the extreme violence by using violence, they will still need to come back and discuss the issue. So why not start discussing the issue today? Why is it taboo to talk about a problem that is killing thousands and thousands of Cameroonians? So I think that the government has a huge responsibility on what is going on in the Northwest and the Southwest, but not the government alone. And that should be said as well. The separatists also have a huge responsibility on what is going on there. And you have in between both parties, you unfortunately have civilians paying the highest price. And we stand on the side of those civilians paying the highest price and say that extreme violence must stop. And we should come back to discuss the issue on the table.
Yeah, you talk about inclusive dialogue, Honorable Joshua Osih. Inclusive, what do you mean by inclusive? We've heard many persons talk about
when we say inclusive, it's very simple. It's a dialogue that is not locked to certain quarters or to some parties. Okay. When we say inclusive, it's that you need to listen to everybody, even if you don't like the person. That's what an inclusive dialogue is all about. If you, we are in a situation where we need to face each other and talk. We need to have the courage to listen to all the opposing parties in this war. We need to have all the opinions on the table. It doesn't mean that one opinion will take the day or the other. It simply means that we need to put, to clean a fish, you need to put it on the table. You cannot clean a fish in a bag. You need to put the fish on the table and clean it. And that's what we're asking for. We're saying that we have gone so far in this war. After 4 years, kids not going to school, the entire economy being shattered, the social lives of millions of Cameroonians being broken down. We need to understand that there is a big problem that can only be addressed on the political level.
This document, the controversial document, was signed by 62 MPs.
Many more have signed in the meantime.
Okay, many more than 62 MPs have signed. Why do you think you are targeted particularly?
Oh, because it's where I come from, the water side, so it's where you have a lot of fish that you have the sharks, or maybe to come out of the water, it's the mango tree with the most beautiful mangoes that is shot at the whole day. So a controversy was brought out because people initially thought that it was a CPDM document. Okay, so nowhere is it mentioned that unfortunately CPDM has a majority in the parliament to which I belong. Okay, we've been fighting for that not to happen, but unfortunately that's the way it is. So people were made to believe that it's a CPDM document. That's the first thing, which it isn't. Not later than recently, some level-thinking people, or I had thought they were level-thinking people, were still talking about the CPDM document. No, it's a parliamentary document. Even if the CPDM has a majority in that parliament, it doesn't make a parliamentary document a CPDM document, because when laws come out of that parliament, they are not CPDM laws. They're binding for all Cameroonians. And secondly, I think it was intentionally built up for other reasons. But I would like to tell all those who use the war in the Northwest and the Southwest for their own personal political gains that you cannot go far in politics when you play over the blood of innocent civilians. You cannot. And it is, I think people should come back to a certain degree of decency in politics and understand that what is going on in the Northwest and Southwest is serious. People are dying every day. People are losing their properties. Hundreds of thousands of Cameroonian kids are no longer going to school. All those kids tomorrow will need support, and so on and so forth. So you cannot be creating a buzz. It cannot be your political business to be using that war in order to gain popularity or in order to create a buzz. It's not good for your political career, it's not good for politics as a whole, and it's very bad for Cameroon.
Now, you talked about the fact that that document was not something particular to the CPDM party. It's a document that actually cuts across party lines.
It doesn't cut across party lines. It's a parliamentary document.
Yeah, which means that any other party.
Exactly.
Yes, but what I'm saying is some persons are asking and also eagerly waiting to see a move like that with respect to the Anglophone crisis. That is, all parties coming together to push for the inclusion of the Anglophone crisis as an agenda in the session.
How can you put it on the agenda when MPs take a move towards that direction and you cry foul? How can you want something that goes further when you have the first part of it coming out and you cry foul? We need to know what we want.
Okay.
We need to be coherent with ourselves. Okay? MPs are asking their colleagues in the US to do something about the people financing the war, sitting and having certain degree of immunity, telling them that for 4 years with the Trump administration, we couldn't go anywhere. Now that you have probably better feelings, please help us with this. Is it not a step in the right direction? So it's a step in the right direction. Now, taking from there, we can go one step further and say, okay, we were very successful. The MPs finally have agreed with us that something must be done. They must respect these instruments to which they are signatories. And then we can come back and say, okay, take it from there. Our action has borne fruits and we can move forward. You know, there is no need to go and sit in Parliament and talk about something if there will be no action right after. So that's a very good beginning. That's a step in the right direction. And I wish that with the next parliamentary session coming up, we may use this example to say, okay, let's go one step further. Let's sit together in Parliament and discuss this issue further. I do not believe that the Cameroonian Parliament in its present composition has the capacity to bring out a remarkable solution to or a meaningful solution to the Anglophone crisis, because we have an obese majority of the CPDM, which is part of the problem. But it's a step in the right direction. Even if we sit with them and discuss this issue, it is a step in the right direction. It doesn't mean we will get there, but it means that we have shown the direction we're going there. It's just like the Grand National Dialogue. We went in for it, and up to today, I think it was a good thing because it's a step in the right direction. It's not solving the entire problem, but you need thousands of steps, or hundreds of steps, or tenths of steps to get there. So you will not shy away from any one step going into that direction.
Okay, Honorable Joshua Osih, you see it's a step towards the right direction, and that there is
in
a
the
possibility.
right direction.
Yeah. You say there is a possibility for this to be discussed during the next parliamentary session that is coming up this same month. But already are you engaging with some MPs from, say, the CPRN movement? Are you also talking with your colleagues of the CPDM for a possible discussion of this Anglophone crisis in the session that is coming up?
That discussion has been carried out relentlessly for the past 5 years, and it's always top of our agenda.
As the SDF?
As the SDF, as an SDF MP. I think all my colleagues, especially those from English-speaking extraction, have always made it a point of honor to address the issue on any bill or on any subject we're addressing in Parliament. And that's one way of moving forward. I think there are many things that have happened from this Parliament towards or in favor of the Northwest and Southwest that are not necessarily as much as people may have expected, but which wouldn't exist if the SDF were not in Parliament. So you have to understand that things are happening, more things are happening. We had a budgetary orientation debate in June, and we succeeded to focus that debate on the Northwest and the Southwest, especially its reconstruction. And during the budgetary session in November, the SCF MPs made it a point of honor to bring that up on the table and to defend it. And I think probably we did not have as much as we would have expected, but again, we had more than what we would have had if we were not present in those debates.
And we saw you people, the SDF MPs, struggle to block sessions from the last mandate. Are you also going to continue?
Well, I think we blocked the Prime Minister from taking the floor because he did not want to recognize the Anglophone plight, the situation in the Northwest and the Southwest. In the meantime, there is a new government, a new Prime Minister. I think those actions are actions as a last resort. Right now, we are in talking terms, let me put it this way, with the government on that issue. And we do not hesitate from calling them up to their responsibilities. You need to understand that the March session is not a session where the Prime Minister addresses Parliament, except there is something exceptional or there is a written or an oral question on the agenda. The March session is more for the election of the Bureau and some laws that come up. But again, we'll make it a point of honor to make sure that the Anglophone question is high on the agenda, not only for the session, but for each and every bill that is presented to Parliament.
Honorable Joshua, Osih, some people think that...
and if there is an opportunity, maybe just to finish, if there is an opportunity to move ahead the agenda to bring peace into the Northwest and Southwest in Parliament in March, we'll seize that opportunity.
But some people see the buzz, you call it buzz, on social media and other mainstream media houses as the commencement of a fight for the possible replacement of the national chair of the Social Democratic Front. Do you see with them?
Well, if that is the case, and I want to believe that there is some part of it, some part of what you said is true. It just demonstrates that we have a very vibrant and dynamic party, and which is a good thing for the life of the party. The worst thing would be that you have a seat that opens up and nobody is scrambling to get it, where you have to beg people to be chairman of the party. If there are 20 candidates fighting for that one seat, then it's a very good thing. It's a good thing for the Cameroonian democracy, it's a good thing for Cameroon, and it's a very, very good thing for the SDF. But again, if that is the case, it should be done respecting the rules of the game, respecting the individualities concerned, and respecting the honor of those individuals concerned. And it shouldn't be something around blackmail or creating buzzes and so on. It should be healthy. And maybe the healthy part of that buzz was the internal part, and the toxic part was the external part. I want to look at it that way to move on, and that's the way I look at it.
Can we also believe that the NEC, that is a program for the coming weekend, is also in part because of the buzz? And
no. This NEC was scheduled already last year. We had scheduled for a NEC in February. We postponed it to beginning March, I guess, to coincide with the beginning of the parliamentary session in March. No, it's not. The SDF, the National Executive Committee of the SDF, meets a minimum of 4 times a year. I think most years we meet more than 4 times. Last year was a bit special with COVID and so on. But right now that we have learned how to meet within COVID restrictions, I think our healthy internal democratic debates will take the floor again and move on. No, I don't.
Okay.
That was a long-term plan. It's not something that happened overnight.
Yeah, many persons are really eager. Many persons wrote when they got information that you were going to be part of this program. They are very keen to knowing what form of government the SDF would propose to Cameroonians. It is true that you've always talked about our federation, but they want to know what Honorable Joshua Osih thinks.
Well, the day I'm no longer in phase with the SDF, then I'll not be in the SDF. So if they know what the SDF proposes, then that's exactly what I stand for. No, we stand for a federal form of government. That's why we talk about power to the people. We stand for a strong, united Cameroon in a federal system where power is devolved totally to the local entities. Local development cannot come from somebody sitting in Yaoundé. Local development can only come from those sitting where the development is necessary. And we should empower them. We should give them the means. We should give them the possibility to develop their councils, to develop these what you call today regions, which we will probably call states, or you can call it what you want, or province. You know, essentially the way this federation is organized is something to be discussed. It's not something that will be imposed on anybody. It will be an inclusive discussion to say, okay, this is how we see it and this is the way it should be. But what is very important is that development should be local. What is very important is that powers should be devolved, that we should have entities that are federated together to make one strong country, that we have one part of government, which are the, in French you say régaliens, which are the, I don't have the English word for it right now, which are the national, or what you call the federal attributes of the state, which is the issuance of money, which is the defense, which is the justice, and so on and so forth. Then you can have the local justice system, the lower justice system levels that can be in the states. You can have the education, the healthcare, and so on. You will have federal projects, which are the main roads leading from Lake Chad right down to Mulundu, or Furawa right down to Ekog, or even to Aqua. And you can have the railway system that can be federal. You will have the local roads and the regional roads, today called regions, which tomorrow may be called differently, which will be. The whole problem is bringing down power to the people, is to give back this power to the people. For 60 years, the Jacobinist regime has failed. It has failed us, it has failed themselves. Okay? It doesn't work. So we need to come back to the drawing board, and what we propose to Cameroonians is a federal form of government where the people manage via what they bring onto the table, and another part that is brought nationwide is redistributed to these same people who can now use it for their own gains and their own development. That is the way it's supposed to be. We are a country too diverse, okay, to try to be ruled by one person. He cannot do everything. He cannot see what is necessary today in Mulundu, or what is necessary tomorrow in Furawa, what is necessary in Isangele. He cannot. So we need these powers to be devolved down. We need people, and you know what the difference is, and it's maybe important I note it here. The big difference between what Mr. Biya calls decentralization and what we call federalism is that federalism is enshrined in the Constitution. No president can come and change it. No president can come and change the way we attribute money to each. I just use the term region, I borrow it from today's dispensation. No president can come and say, we are no longer giving this amount of money to the southwest or the northwest. We are now changing the educational system. No. When it's enshrined in the Constitution that the education, the primary, secondary, and higher education are the prerogatives of what we call the region today, nobody from Yaoundé can come and remove that. Okay, when it's written that, for instance, the budget, or what the total tax collected in Cameroon is redistributed with a certain formula to make sure that we take into account the size of each quote-unquote region and the population and the development needs of this region. When we decide that 8% of the tax that is paid by all Cameroonians is given to the region A or the region B, the region C. You
It should
cannot
be
be.
contained in the
It is
Constitution,
it is enshrined. It is constitutional. You cannot come and change it whether you like it or not. When we say that the federal government itself takes 20% of all the tax collected in Cameroon, you cannot come and change that overnight. Okay. Whereas when you are in a decentralization, all of those arrangements are by decree that you can change anytime you want. So you cannot have a long-term ambition. A mayor today of a municipality has no clue about the revenue he will have next year, because the finance bill that gives him the revenue this year ends on the 31st of December. So he cannot even go and contract a long-term loan to build a road or to build a hospital in his council area, because he doesn't know what he will receive next year. Whereas when you have it enshrined and they know that exactly if they have this output in their council area, they will have this income, you can go out and take long-term loans. You can go out and make arrangements with the private sector, etc., multilateral agencies to develop your area. That which is all not possible today. That's just one example, but there are many more.
Yeah, Honorable Joshua C. Let's talk a little bit about the international community. Should Cameroonians look onto the international community as the core persons who could help us out of our current problems?
Well, when you are in trouble, all help matters.
Okay.
Wherever it comes from, help matters. But let me just point one thing out. We should not shy away from our responsibilities and run towards the international community to come and solve our problems if we have the means to solve them ourselves. And I do believe that we have the human resources necessary, we have the political will necessary, we have a critical mass of people who understand what is going on and who have the capacity to stop it. So why take a ship or a plane and go abroad to look for a solution you have here at your footsteps?
Yeah, but we have been in this crisis for getting to 5 years today.
Yes, we have been in this crisis for getting to 5 years because of the absence of a political will of both parties involved. So whether you bring the Pope or Jesus Christ or Barack Obama will not change. If there is no political will for any advancement, there will be no political will whoever comes in. So it is not by bringing the US Army or the US President or the Pope or whoever that will change anything. If you cannot listen to Christian Cardinal Toomey, you cannot listen to the Pope. You cannot.
Okay. And then do you understand also the frustration of the diaspora? Many persons, the conditions under which they left this country, many are yearning for the government to recognize what is commonly called dual nationality. I know that you were, there was information at one time that you were not going to go in for an election because of that. Do you understand why our brothers and sisters out there are yearning to also be recognized, though they have nationality out of this nation?
Well, I think it's an important subject you're bringing on the table, and I am up to now the MP in Cameroon who dropped a private member bill on the subject, which is still on the table of the Bureau of the National Assembly, unfortunately, blocked by the CPDM majority. First of all, let me correct you. Okay. There was never a time I was not going to be a candidate because I had deposited a private member bill on the multiple nationality. Secondly, let me just clarify that the notion of dual nationality is not what is in question. Because if you think that is what is in question, well, maybe the outcome of what is in question is called that way. But what is in question is the depenalization of the fact that a Cameroonian male adult obtains another nationality than his nationality of origin, which is Cameroonian. That is what is in question. What the issue right now is that the law says that if you obtain another nationality at the age of 21 or more, you automatically lose your Cameroonian citizenship, which is something we're fighting against because for many reasons it is actually a stupid law. That law was brought in 1968 to fight against the UPC political leadership. They were enjoying Egyptian passports and Guinean passports, Guinea-Conakry, and so they found out in Yaoundé that to cut them short, they will just make sure they're no longer Cameroonians. and probably it worked in 68, but it doesn't work today. We have today, we estimate today at 2.5 million people of Cameroonian descent living abroad, and this is very important. There is basically no region that is as powerful as this diaspora. So we need to recognize them. Do you understand today that foreigners cannot purchase land? Meaning that these 2.5 million people who are Cameroonians actually cannot purchase land. So how do you invite them to come and invest in Cameroon when they are considered as second-class citizens by virtue of the fact that they don't live in Cameroon? So this needs to be corrected, and needs to be corrected fast. You even need to go further than the first, second, third generation of Cameroonians, but you need to put in that law that needs to come out, you need to put in a mechanism to recognize people of Cameroonian ancestry, because there are people out there who are in their fifth generation, maybe those who the diaspora that came out there from the slave trade and so on, they have a right to be recognized as people of Cameroonian origin, and we need to see into it that these people can be brought back to Cameroon in one way or the other. Even if we just bring them back on paper, even if we just bring them back in form of a passport, it's already a huge deal. So I am one of those who has been fighting for this to happen, because I know the strength and the importance of our diaspora, and I believe that a lot of what has been happening today with the diaspora being in support, one part of the diaspora being in support of the secessionist movement, also finds its origin in the way this diaspora is treated as second-class citizens.
Yeah, and but it's, you have friends who are MPs of the CPDM. You say most of the things that you want changed are not done because the obvious majority or nature of the parliament dominated by the CPDM. But when you discuss with these MPs, don't you also explain to them what you are telling Cameroonians today for them to understand?
Well, you know, it's a very difficult task to convince a CPDM militant. But that being said, you know, don't get me wrong, and don't get what is happening in Parliament wrong. There is something you call party discipline, unfortunately, and many people adhere to it. And I am convinced that if we have the private member bill I tabled on the floor of Parliament outside of party discipline imposed to by the hierarchy of the CPDM, the law, that bill will pass. It will pass into law. I am convinced. I am convinced because today we even have a network of parliamentarians that is headed by a CPDM member of Parliament, spearheading the place of the diaspora in the Cameroonian society. So it means that we all agree that something needs to be done, but it just is not happening because at this stage the CPDM party discipline is being respected for reasons I cannot explain. So I am convinced that if this bill is tabled tomorrow morning, tomorrow afternoon it will be a law and will have solved a huge problem in this country. But unfortunately, that's not the case.
Honorable Joshua Osih, Cameroonians are looking forward to the day when the Social Democratic Front may one day work with the Cameroon Renaissance movement of Professor Maurice Kamto. Is there a possibility for Cameroonians to one day see a working collaboration, partnership between this STF and the MRC?
Well, I don't think there is anything that can stop that from happening if it has to happen. So we're not in a position. Whatever the subject matter is, we are ready to discuss with all political parties in Cameroon to make sure that Cameroon wins, to make sure that we move ahead. Now, we are center-left party. We are social democrats, as you know. So it's much easier for us to align ourselves with other social democrats or parties inclined towards the left than parties that are more inclined towards the right. So we need to make sure that our values are respected. So if we're talking of things that go outside of the sphere of value, of values, of political values and positions, like the reform of the electoral code, we can talk, we can align ourselves to all. And if there are points in the electoral code that need to be changed, where all the parties agree, and even the CPDM, we will not be against the CPDM because we are in the opposition. We want those things to change. We know how it should be. We want a 2-round election for presidential, at least, if possible, even legislative. We want the single ballot. We want all those things. So all the political parties that want them, we can sit together and go ahead with them. And I think we'll never come and criticize a political party that wants a better electoral code. Now, if we need to review the constitution, and in that constitution, we need to make sure we put in federal dispensations, and another political party is a Jacobinist party that wants all the powers in Yaoundé, we will never be able to agree. You understand? So it's not a question, we're not in church, we're in politics. So if there is something that, if there's an agenda that we can move about together, we don't have any problem to be in any grouping whatsoever if we have the same agenda. If we are not on the same agenda, there is just no way we can sit together. So it's not about one single party, it's about all the 300 parties in Cameroon.
Okay, one of the reasons why the MPs, if I follow what was written in the letter to the US congressmen and women, had to do with the description that they gave, the picture they painted the nation following the deportation of Cameroonians. There are some that were deported.
I think the US congressmen wrote to their administration.
Yeah, the current administration.
The current administration.
Yeah.
It's the current Congress that wrote to the current administration.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, the Cameroonian parliament, in matters of parliamentary diplomacy, when a parliament takes an action for or against another country, it's the parliament in that country, okay, that doesn't necessarily respond, but that takes its own action to as a measure towards that other action that has been taken. So you have to understand that it's not the US government that took a position. If the US government takes a position, it's the government of Cameroon that will take a position. Now, these congressmen wrote to their administration to ask them not to repatriate some Cameroonians who found themselves in a situation of repatriation. And in that letter, they expressed the fact that basically, if they come back to Cameroon, they might be killed because they are repatriated. I'm just extrapolating and maybe exaggerating. That is just normal for the US parliamentarians to say that, because they need to paint a black picture to make sure the administration doesn't repatriate them. Now, in our response, in as much as we said probably it is not as black as you mentioned it, the point that we're raising in our response is exceptionally clear, and I'll read it for you if you give me just 1 second.
Okay. Yeah.
The response, and I didn't want to come here on that, that's why I'm opening. In response of it, on behalf of the Cameroonian Parliament, we can summarize the response in its conclusion, and I quote the words that we use, that as legislators, we welcome the genuine expression of concern and support for the well-being of the vast majority of Cameroonians. We welcome. We welcome means that we are happy. It means that we agree with you. Okay? And we also urge you, members of the United States Congress, to engage more vigorously to ensure compliance with the international conventions against transnational crime and criminality, to which the United States is a signatory, and to ensure that their country is not a safe haven for perpetrators and funders of acts of extreme violence and terrorism on the people of Cameroon. Now, when you have a mandate given to you by the people of Cameroon, and when you sit there for the people of Cameroon, and you understand that legislators in the US have opened a window of opportunity by blocking a repatriation flight. It never happened during the Trump years. During the Trump years, we had repatriation flights all the time coming in. The last one was at the end of last year, I guess, if I'm not wrong.
Yes, and a televiewer asked me to particularly ask this question to you, that do you know the whereabouts of those who came in?
Listen, no, that's
Okay.
not what we are saying. What we are saying is that we thank maybe let me change my words.
Okay.
We thank them for stopping those people from coming back. We thank them for taking care of the well-being of a vast majority of Cameroonians. Those are the words we use. What is of interest of us is that for 4 years during the Trump administration, we have been trying to ask, we have been trying hard to tell the US government that people are using the United States territory as a safe haven to finance and to send out propaganda for a war in the southwest and the northwest regions of Cameroon. They should help us to stop that. That is what we are asking. And we are very happy that finally we have a government that considers Cameroonians as human beings and so stops a repatriation flight. We are happy that we have a new majority in the US Parliament, call it Congress, that now stands up for these rights and even petitions its own government. We are very happy about that. But go one step further. Now that this is done, we clap, we thank you. Job well done. Do one thing more, okay? Stop these people from financing the war. Cameroonians are dying every day. Thousands of young Cameroonians are out of the educational system because of this war. We need to stop it. The US has a responsibility in that war, in that people use its territory as a safe haven to commit acts of extreme violence in the northwest and the southwest. I guess, and I'll go one step further, I don't like to extrapolate things of such a magnitude, but guess what? If what is happening in the northwest and southwest was perpetrated by Muslims, it would never come out of the US territory. Never. They would have put a stop to it the same day. When they wanted to crack down all the Muslim scholars from New York and so on, they did it. All those who were pro-terrorism, be it in Afghanistan, in Iraq, and in all these countries, they did it. So they have the possibility to do it. Okay? Now, we had the wrong administration in place for 4 years. That's the most unfortunate thing that happened to the Northwest and Southwest region, is that we had the wrong administration in America. That has been corrected by the American people. So please, guys, wake up. Put an end to the financing and the propaganda of this war coming from your territory. That is what we are asking for. And if there is anything wrong to ask for that, then you are on the side of the perpetrators.
Okay, you want the US to act, but some people also want you to do same to the Cameroon government to make sure that this war is put.
We have been doing it. We blocked the Prime Minister from talking. Is that not doing it? It is not because when you are separating a fight, you get punches, you get everything, but it is not because you are holding the stronger man in the fight that you allow the weaker man to continue insulting the stronger man. At one point, you leave that stronger man and you go to the weaker man too and say, stop insulting. We are in the middle of a fight, okay? And we are saying both sides need to come back to better terms. When we call for dialogue, we're not calling only on Mr. Biya for dialogue. We're calling on everybody for dialogue. When we say inclusive, means that put down your weapons, let's talk. Both sides need to talk, not just one. So it is not because you are asking one side to stop that you are entertaining the other side or encouraging the other side to continue acting. No, that's not the case.
Okay. We just have to end this edition of the program. This juncture, we want to say thank you to you, Honorable Joshua Osih, the first Vice President for the Social Democratic Front, a Member of Parliament also. And we are very grateful that you accepted an invitation to be on the point this evening.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for inviting me. And I wish a very nice evening to all your viewers. And I sincerely hope that we can, together, all of us, not only the English-speaking viewers watching you, but that all Cameroonians can come together and take this cause to stop the extreme violence in the northwest and the southwest as a paramount cause. Let people stop joking around it. Let people stop using it for their own gains. Let us stop it. People are dying every day. Lives have been ruined by this war. It's a terrible thing going on, and it's a very, very important call that I'm making to all, that we should come together. For more than a year, we couldn't do much because COVID came to add to it. But let us not forget there is COVID, but even more important, so there is the war in the northwest and southwest that needs to be stopped.
Okay, televiewers, we're going to end this juncture. Thank you for watching. Stay blessed. Bye bye.